Hi friend, I just wanted to take a minute to invite you to our Lash Biz Babes Experience 2026. This is a one-day all online event happening on May 2nd, and our theme for the year is going all in. We are shaking things up and doing it differently than anyone ever has before. This is going to be an all online event as usual, but it's going to be 100% a curated journey throughout your day as we guide you through the mindset, strategy, and passion needed to go all in on your business to make it your best year in business yet. All lash artists, estheticians, and beauty professionals are invited to join us. There will be guided sessions, interactive workshops, a panel discussion, and big giveaways happening throughout that whole day. And tickets are on sale now for only $199. Payment plans are available. Let's go all in on our businesses for 2026 together. All the details and the link for tickets are down in the show notes below. I would love to have you join us online in May.
Welcome back to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach and lash educator. And for today's episode, I'm actually going to be answering a question that I got in a lash Facebook group this week. She asked it in a response back to one of my comments, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would make such a great podcast episode. So let's go at it. Let's talk about it. I'm going to be mixing in some solo episodes like this with all the guest episodes that we have coming up because we have a lot of guest episodes on the way. I've literally recorded about like 2 months worth of guest episodes in the last like 2 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks or so. So yeah, we've got a lot of guest episodes coming up. I'm going to be mixing in some solo ones. So this is one of those, obviously. So let me read you her question really quick. So originally, she was asking about advice for lash mamas. She's expecting, she wants to have things planned out. She wants to be able to be present in her baby's life while still having a successful business. And if you know me, you know that I am all about this. This is actually, if you haven't seen on Instagram already, something that I am shifting my business more so into focusing on with really, I can and still will help you build your clientele and like grow a successful, thriving beauty business. But my heart is really in it with helping moms specifically right now. Obviously, I'm a mom of three. I'm very passionate about this. I don't feel like there's enough support for us in our industry. So I want to create that support. And so yeah, I'm going to be focusing a lot on this in my business now, really supporting mamas in their beauty businesses. And so I commented back to her post about this, was sharing some of the things about, planning your maternity leave, which I do have an episode on if you have not listened to that and that's something that you have upcoming. Episode 35 is a great one for planning and taking maternity leave. It also has tips and tricks for lashing while pregnant. But I was responding back to that, and then she asked a question back and she said, I'm curious to know how it looked differently in your business from lashing with babies to education with a baby at home. And I was like, yes, that is such a great idea to talk about on the podcast because my business did look very different between lashing with babies at home and like doing education with babies at home. So I thought I would talk about that, kind of how I structured my schedule, how I spent my time, how I delegated tasks with that. And then also like why I made that shift into education and, aligning it with goals and things like that. So this is the episode for you if you are a mom and you're wondering, how the heck do I structure my business so that I can be a present mom and like run a successful business? Because obviously both are very time consuming things. So first and foremost, when I was lashing with babies at home, it honestly, my schedule looked different every single time I had a baby. And even then, it changed a lot. And I think if you're a mom in beauty business, you can probably relate to this, just where your kids' schedules change, and so your work schedule changes. Honestly, I don't have a specific way that I structured my schedule as far as taking clients went. It was just what worked best for our family schedule, what worked best with my kids' schedules. Like, I always created my work schedule around my kids because my priority with my business was to be able to spend time with my kids and be present with them. Like, I don't want to miss things in their lives, like in the important things. Like, I don't want to miss, I mean, at the time when I was lashing, they weren't in sports or anything yet, but now it's like I don't want to miss their games. I don't want to miss, like, if they want to do like extracurricular activities or like driving them to and from school. Like, I don't want to miss out on those kinds of things. And that might seem little sometimes, but for me, it's like a big deal. And I think that that probably comes down to things that with my childhood and like some of the childhood trauma that I had growing up of just having one of my parents who was just not present, was just not there, missed everything. And so for me, like, that has been such like, it's hard to talk about sometimes. Like, that's been such like a wound for me that like it has made me want to be the most absolute most present parent that I can be. And so that is really a driving force behind creating my business to be set up around the kind of life that I want to live. Like, I don't want my business to run me. Like, obviously there's going to be times where I need to focus more on my business and there's going to be sacrifices that I need to make where I'm going to need to be more focused on my business at a certain given time. But I don't ever want to have it get to the point where like my business is taking up and sucking up so much of my time that I'm not actually being present with my kids and getting to be there for their things and their activities and getting to just be present and spend time with them. Like, that's for me at least, like, that's not the reason why I'm even running my own business. So like, for myself, if that were to ever happen, where my business got to the point where like I wasn't able to be the kind of present parent that I want to be, then things would have to change. Because for me, that is just one of the huge perks of running my own business, is that I can have a business that is set up around the life that I want to live. I can have a business that is set up to allow me to be the present parent that I want to be. And I learned the hard way that that is something that you can have. You don't have to be working when clients want you to be working, or like when you feel like you need to be working, because that's when clients can come in to see you. Or like, you hear people say you have to be flexible for the clients, and especially while you're building your clientele, you have to be available to them whenever. And it's just like, I don't believe in that anymore. I don't subscribe to that anymore, because I learned the hard way that a lot of those clients don't stick with you anyway. So let me backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about this some more. So structuring my business when I had kids at home while I was lashing, like I said, it was different every single time. So I'll just take you through a little bit. When I first had my, it was just my first baby, my son. He was born in 2018. I was still working my 9 to 5 job, and I had been doing lashes and like aesthetics things on the side. Like, after I got home from my 9 to 5, I would like do lashes and things. And so I lashed up until he was born. I started taking clients again like 6-ish. No, with his, it was longer than that. It was probably at least like 8 to 10 weeks long or more, because my oldest was in the NICU and we bought a house at the exact same time. We did not plan it that way. He was early, but oh man, it was real stressful. So I had to take a longer break from lashes than I thought, but I got back to it, and then I was just basically lashing from home evenings. I tried to do like nap time and stuff while he was asleep, but he was a terrible sleeper and that did not go over well. I personally think that like having your kids with you while lashing, like, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Like, I've been there where I've had to bring my kids or my kid with me, because it is what it is. It's just how it worked out. And talk to the client ahead of time, made sure it was okay with them, that kind of thing. But also, like, if you can have childcare for your kids, like, I think that that's probably the best, so that you don't have to start and stop and you can really give your full attention to your clients. And just personally with little babies, and like, oh my gosh, if they wake up, if they're hungry, it's so stressful. Like, I just, uh, in my opinion, it's easier and better for everyone if you can have some kind of childcare. So I tried to just lash people during nap times and things, but like I said, it didn't work out that great because he wasn't a great sleeper. He would wake up a lot. I would just be really stressed out. I don't think it made the best experience for clients, and I didn't like retain clients very well during that time. So, lesson learned on that one. But at that point, I started having like a babysitter that would just come like while I would take clients. My husband worked hella long hours, which he still does to this day. But at that time, he was working like 10 to 12 hour shifts with like an hour and a half commute one way. So it would be like a 10 to 12 hour shift with 3 hours of driving on top of that. So really long days. So I started having, and I just wouldn't ever know, like, okay, like when is he gonna be home? Like sometimes he would be home early, sometimes he'd be home late. It was just all freaking over the place. So I started having someone come over. It was like I'd have my sister or like a cousin or like a friend would come over and just hang out with my son while I lashed. And that worked out pretty well. And they would just be at the house like with me. I didn't necessarily like send my kids somewhere else or like put them in daycare or something. They just come over. So he was still there at home with me, but someone was there to give him the attention he needed when he needed it. So I feel like that worked out the best at the time when I was lashing from home and I only had one baby. So then fast forward to when I had my second baby, that was after we had moved. I had built my clientele up from scratch to full clientele in less than 6 months. I was in a commercial space at that point. I wasn't lashing from home anymore. And yeah, so that's where I was at when I had my second baby. And it was really difficult for me to figure out like well, I guess fast forward a little or back up a little bit because when I stopped lashing from home and I went into that commercial space after we moved, it was a little bit different than lashing from home, obviously. Whereas like I needed to be out at the house. But again, my husband was working the long hours, and he was working out of town quite a bit for a while there. And so that made it a little bit weird, but I would just lash mainly evenings and weekends. And so I just have never been the kind of person that wants to put my child in daycare. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. There's absolutely no shame in utilizing daycare like facilities. I just personally like I don't want to put my kids in daycare. So I was working evenings and weekends, which hindsight not ideal, but it's what worked at the time. So I did 4 evenings a week. I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I would try to take one of them off, like one of those evenings off if I could, so that I could be home for bedtime. However, I was so busy at the time that didn't always work out. But I did 4 nights a week. I did Fridays, like just a normal Friday day shift, quote unquote, like a 9 to 5 basically. When my husband was home, because he usually worked 4 10, so most of the time was home on Fridays. Kind of depended on the week. Your husband's in the trades, you probably know what I mean. But on Saturdays, I tried to just do Saturday mornings, and I also tried to leave Saturday as like a flex day so that if I needed to put clients there, I could, but it was like a more of a last resort of like, I'm not going to book anyone here unless I absolutely have to so that I can have that day for family time. If need be, I would put clients there though. Oh, like I said, that was like my flex day, which is nice because I mean, most people can make a Saturday morning work. And so, if I needed to move people around, if clients needed to reschedule, things like that, like I had a little bit of flex time there. And I would sometimes do Saturday afternoons if I needed to. It really just depended on the week, how busy I was, things like that. But it was nice to have, like I said, that flex time, where it's like if it doesn't get scheduled, it's fine. But if I need to, here's where I can put somebody. Because I did really want to have weekends as our family time, especially because my husband did work a lot during the week. So that's what I did when my son was a little bit older, when I wasn't lashing from home anymore. But then when I had my second baby, my husband was fully working out of town. Like He was literally out of town for probably 2 months before she was born. My mom had to come and like hang out with me for like a month before she was born because she was like, someone needs to be there with you if you go into labor and your husband's not home. And so he was working um, Monday through Thursday nights. He would leave at like 2 to 3 a.m. on Monday mornings and get home at like 8-ish, 8 or 9 p.m. on Thursday nights. And then he'd most of the time be home Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes he would have to work to Friday too. But anyway, he was gone. He was working out of town. And that obviously like put a like crunch in the childcare thing where like I was working evenings. So I was like, the heck am I gonna do? Because like my main clientele that I had built at that point was clients who could come evenings. And so I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. This was also 2020, so COVID, and I didn't really want to put my little newborn in daycare with all that going on. So I was like, I don't know what to do. And because I didn't want to like just work Fridays and Saturdays because that was really like our only family time, but that was also really the only time I had to work where my husband could help with kids. And we didn't really have very much family who could help regularly or consistently in that area. So I ended up doing like Fridays for a little while. I was trying to just squeeze in as many clients as I could on Fridays, which worked fine for the moment, but I don't think that that would have ever have been like a long-term solution because it would have been just straight burnout. Because like I kid you not, I was doing just back to back to back clients on Fridays, and it was not fun. I will just say it was not fun. It would be like one of those things where it's like you schedule it and you're like, it's fine. But then when the day comes and you're so back to back booked, you're like, why did I do this to myself? And so I did that for like, kind of while I was in between like maternity, coming back from maternity leave and like having another lash artist work in my studio with me. So that was basically what my solution was to that was like, okay, I'll bring in someone to work with me in my studio and they can help me take clients. And so that way I don't have to be here as much. My clients can still get taken care of. I can still make money. And yeah, it just seemed like a good solution to the problem. And I was just like working Fridays, basically just coming in on Fridays and Saturdays. So I was like, I didn't really want to work weekends that much, but those first couple months, that's what I was doing. Well, especially while I was getting that other lash artist kind of like up and running, getting her going in the studio. And that in itself was like the biggest learning experience of having another lash artist in my studio with me. So I don't really feel like I can really speak on having another lash artist in my studio with me, just because like I don't feel like I have that much experience with it. However, I did do it for about a year or so, a little under a year, I guess. I did learn a lot from that experience, which I think has been very valuable for me to pull from, especially when I'm coaching in different things. But yeah, so had another lash artist in my studio with me, so that structure worked okay. Um, while I was in just that crazy newborn phase and my husband was working out of town. So that's how I structured it then. But it got to the point where I was only working like Fridays and Saturdays, taking clients, like as many clients as I could. And the other lash artist in my studios with me was helping to take some of my clients and, I was helping her build her clientele. And we actually got her booked up pretty quickly. She started on in January. And I think by the time, because she ended up moving, I believe it was, in like April or May. I don't remember exactly. But she ended up moving. By the time she moved, I remember there was one week where like we had people calling in and we just were like, we don't have anywhere to put you. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, can you come in next week or the week after? Like, I just remember there was just a couple of those weeks that were it was just like we were so booked out and busy, both of us, that it was like, I don't have anywhere to put you except for like weeks out. So, yeah, that was a good thing, obviously, a good problem to have. So we did get her booked up pretty quickly. But I was working Fridays and Saturdays and I was getting so burnt out with that, especially whereas like my husband was still working out of town, that was our only family time. Like, that was really putting, like, doing some I don't know, like, it was hard, of course, like, he's working out of town. When he's home, he's with kids, I'm working, it was just like, "This is too much," and, like, our marriage was having a hard time, like, our family time was taking a hit, and it was just like, I gotta change something here." And so I actually ended up hiring, like, a nanny to come 2 days a week, and so she would come Mondays and Wednesdays, and honestly, that was, like, my favorite setup that I had with, like, having lashing and kids at home while I was doing services still, like, that was my favorite setup because then I wasn't having to miss bedtime every night. I wasn't having to miss out on all our family time on the weekends, but I didn't have to put my kids in daycare. I was still able to be super present with them, but I also had someone who I could trust in my home with them. Like, I don't know, that was my favorite setup. And it was so nice to just have help during the day so that I could just go run errands during the day. I could get things done. I could take clients. Like, it just worked out so well. So that personally was my favorite way that I structured my business while I was lashing with kids at home. So I had help 2 days a week. She'd come Mondays and Wednesdays. Like 8 or I can't remember. She'd come like 9 to 5, I think, 8:30 to 5. I don't know, something like that. And so I would take clients, and at that point, I had raised my prices enough to where I was able to just do like I was able to kind of cut down on clients a bit, but I still did also have someone working in my studio with me. And so it just worked out. And then, like I said, that was my favorite way that I structured my business with having lash business and taking lash clients and having kids at home. I feel like it worked out the best for our family, but this is again for you. Like when you're thinking about how to structure your business, when you're lashing or doing services and you've got kids at home, like you have to think about what's going to work the best for you. Like when is your family time? When do your kids have activities and things that you do want to be present for? Because there's going to be some times where maybe they have things that it's you feel okay, like, okay, I don't need to be there for that, then that's great. But like if you do want to be there for that, like when is it? And are you making sure to set up your schedule around that or trying to find a way to? And obviously, it's a little bit difficult sometimes with the childcare situation. Sometimes you just kind of have to do what you need to do and work during the hours that you do have childcare. But if at all possible, I definitely would recommend, getting childcare when you want to work so that you can set your schedule up to be the hours that you want to work and not the hours that you feel like you need to work. Whereas, like, a lot of people think they have to work evenings and weekends because that's when can come see you. But, like, there is still daytime clientele out there. But the thing about, like, setting your hours is, like, you have to realize that whatever hours you work is the clientele that you're going to build. So if you're working evenings and weekends and then you switch to daytime, which is what I did, you're gonna lose clients, and it's gonna happen because you have built a clientele that can come on evenings and weekends. And if there are people who can, like, if they're coming on evenings and weekends, like, that's probably because that's the only time that they can come see you. So then if you switch to daytime, it's gonna be really hard for them to be able to come to you during the day because they're not available. They have jobs, they have other things going on, like, whatever it is. And that was a hard lesson I had to learn was like I had built an evening and weekend clientele and then I switched to daytime. So I did lose some clients in that transition. I wouldn't say I lost a lot of them, but that being said was that even though I was working those 2 days a week during the day, I still was going in a couple of nights a week to take some of my evening clients because that was the clientele that I had, and I didn't really want to lose all of those clients at once. I just, like, financially could not do it, and yeah, it just was what it was. So do think about that, like, when you are structuring your schedule, is that, whatever hours you're working, that's the kind of clientele that you're gonna build. So if you wanna work daytime hours, just start out working daytime hours and build yourself a daytime clientele. Because if you're just working whatever hours, being flexible for people, then you switch, like, you have that potential to lose clients, and that does happen. That did happen to me, and it's just one of those things. It's when availability is part of, building your clientele. And so with that, you also will hear people say, like, you have to be so flexible for clients and, like, especially while you're building your clientele, like, come in when they want you to come in or, like, be available to them. And I think that to a point, yes and no. Like, if you need the money, that's one thing. Like, again, it's one of those things. You just gotta do what you gotta do. But also, like, just because a client wants to come in at 8:30 p.m. on a Saturday night doesn't mean that you should. Like, and I say that from experience because when I was building my clientele, I was under the mentality that that was something that you had to do to grow like your business, like build your clientele. And so that was something that I did. It was like, oh, someone who was trying to book last minute, and I was like, oh hell yeah, like I'm gonna go take this client and like, I'm so great. I love what I do. Like, oh, this is amazing. Like 8:30 p.m. on a Saturday, like literally missed hot tub time with my kid and my husband and like our family that night. And it was just like I was all pumped on life about it at the time because I was like, "Yeah, I'm working so hard for my business. I'm making sacrifices. I'm doing the hustle thing that everyone always talks about." But here's the thing, that particular client, she needed something last minute and she needed weird hours, right? So that particular client, she was always someone who wanted to schedule last minute. She never pre-booked. She was someone who always needed weird hours that I didn't really want to be there for, and she was also someone who did not take care of her lashes. And so she had retention issues and ended up being a big problem client from that. And I started picking up on this pattern of clients like this, where it's like if they need something last minute or, they need really weird hours, like they are always going to be that way. And if you don't want to deal with that long term, like don't take them to begin with. Like I said, if you need the money, that's one thing. Like if you need that quick cash, you need that quick client, okay, do what you need to do. But also, like if that's not something you want to do long term, I personally would not recommend taking on those clients because that client didn't end up staying with me for maybe more than a month to 2 months, maybe. I think I might have done her 3 to 4 times, so maybe, yeah, so it must have been like 2 months because if I did 3 to 4, it was like every couple of weeks. Anyway, she didn't stick around, and so it was just like, why am I busting my butt to come in here on hours that I don't want to work, missing out on family time, missing out on being present with my kid and hot tub time or bedtime or stories. Like, why am I missing these things for clients who don't respect me, don't take care of their lashes, who always want to schedule last minute, who are always canceling, who are not like wanting to follow policies, who are complaining, causing issues? Like, they're just problem clients. And it's like, why am I doing this? This is not worth it. So then I made it a point to stop doing that, stop being so flexible for clients. Like, I have my set schedule, and if you can come during these times, that's great. If you can't, then you're not the client for me, and that's okay. Like, I think we just get so trained in this mentality of hustle sometimes, or this mentality of you gotta get the client, you gotta be flexible for them, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. I get so passionate about this because it like, I experienced it. I lived that. It wasn't it. At least for me. If other people, that's great. But like that was not the type of clientele that I wanted to be building to begin with. So it was like, why am I missing out on this family time that is so very important for me to take on these shitty clients that don't stick around with me long term? They promise you when I started holding my boundaries on that and I started like, okay, this is my schedule. These are this is when I can take people. I started building my clientele with people who can come during those hours. I started building my clientele with people who respected me, who took care of their lashes, who weren't always trying to schedule last minute. My life was so much smoother when it came to business. I was much less stressed having to deal with problem clients. Um, I had clients who valued me, who cared for me as a person, who showed up on time, who followed policies, who really honestly truly cared about my kids too, and just like were great. And because of that, I got to spend a lot more time with my kid and a lot more present time with my kid because then the times that I was spending with my kids was not spent with dealing with problem clients, was not spent like having to like have hard conversations with clients enforcing policies because like that was the reality before. It was like, yeah, I was with my kids But then I was having to deal with problem clients because I had these like shitty clients, and I was like, okay, great, this isn't it. This is not what I got into business for. So when I started holding those boundaries, I built the clientele that was more dreamy. I built the clientele that was more ideal for me, and that is what you can do too. And I promise you, those clients are out there. I know that can be hard to feel like it's not there, like I just have to take what I can get. I need the money. I need to just get clients in the door. And we do get in those points where it's like, yeah, you do just need the money, you do just need the quick clients. You've got rent to pay, you've got bills to pay. I get that. You got to do what you got to do, but at some point, for the longevity of your career, for the longevity of your business, and to avoid burnout, you're gonna have to hold those boundaries and pick, okay, here are my hours, here are my policies. You're gonna have to like set those things in stone and stick to them so that you can build and cultivate a clientele who can come during the hours that you work, that you want to work, who are going to respect your policies, who are going to respect you as a mom too, and that you are a mom, and be flexible with you on that. And just all in all, build the clientele that's going to be the best for you. So that's how I schedule, or yeah, that's how I structured my business with kids at home, like my lash business. And that was my favorite way, was when I had the nanny come to the house a couple of days a week. I had my pricing right where it needed to be, to where I only worked the 2 days. I typically tried to have like at least one afternoon out of those 2 days to be like back end work, um, CEO tasks, and I was starting to grow my coaching business at the time as well. And so I was doing like coaching things and like programs and things like during that one afternoon a month or a week as well. And so that's how I schedule, or I'm like tripping over all my words right now. That's how I structured my business with lash clients and having babies at home. So my advice to you is just set the hours that you want to work, like do what is going to be best for your family. Make sure to prioritize that family time still. Like don't feel like you have to be a slave to your business. You will, and you can find clients and build a clientele who can come during the hours so you can work when you have childcare, and like that is a possibility for you and it's going to happen. And if that's not your reality right now, don't be afraid to change your schedule to fit your needs. And the clients, like, especially if they're clients who really like you, they're going to do what they can to still come see you. Some of the time, those clients are not going to be able to make it work just because of pure scheduling issues. But a majority of the time, if they really like you, if they're a loyal client to you, they are going to do what they can to make it work to still be able to come in and see you. So, there's my advice and insight on that. Very passionate advice, apparently. I was like, man, I'm really getting into this. I didn't know I was so passionate about this, but it's so true. So, anyway, so that's how my business looked while lashing. Then the one of the biggest reasons that I switched into full-time education and coaching was really to be in alignment with our family goals. I think I might have talked about this before on here, but just really it came down to what are our big picture goals, and how is my business aligning with that? Because our big picture goals at the time, we were supposed to be like going on like a 3 month like road trip to Alaska and back. We were going to do that actually last summer in 2022, and things worked out to where that didn't actually happen. I ended up getting pregnant, and just with my husband's job and just how things played out, like it just didn't work out. We did go take like a 3 week trip to Alaska last summer, but when I made the switch, like that was like one of our big goals. One of my big goals was also to be spending more time with my kids, which I was spending a lot of time with them even when I was lashing still. Um, but just overall, our family goals too, as far as like income, different things. Like I feel like I was maxed out with how many clients I could take, how much income I could bring in with that time, and just trading time for money. I just realized that that wasn't going to bring in the income potential that I really wanted. I wanted to keep growing and expanding my business. And so just overall, I was like, I really want to adjust my business right now. I was really starting to feel some resentment with having to go take clients. And it wasn't because I didn't love my clients. I absolutely love them. They are amazing. They're incredible. They're still some of the people that I talk to regularly. Um, but as I was saying, I was growing my coaching business at the time, getting that started and learning a lot about that. And it just got to the point where it's like my heart is really in this with coaching. My heart's really in with wanting to help people grow their businesses and like build their clientels and this other side of things. And because of that, I was starting to feel that resentment of when I had to go take clients because I really wanted to be spending that time like growing my coaching business and like chasing my goals in that capacity. So that was a really hard decision to make to stop taking lash clients because that was like a stable income. Like I had built that stability into my income, into my schedule, and it was like it was very predictable at that point. And I was just like, holy nerve wracking. But I made the decision to close my lash studio ultimately because I wanted to be able to structure my business in a way that allowed me to be the kind of mom I wanted to be, the kind of present parent that I wanted to be, and also that would help me to hit like the goals that I had within our family and within my business that I otherwise wasn't going to be able to do with just taking clients. Now, this is really going to look different for everybody because there's not just one end road of success with beauty business. Like you can be super successful with taking clients, and if you love that and that works for you, that's like amazing and that's great and that's what you should do. But if you ever find yourself at a point where it's just like I don't, I'm feeling maxed out or I want to do something different or want to diversify things, like you could go into coaching, you could go into teaching in-person trainings, you could go into being like a lash influencer, you can go into doing like YouTube or content creation, like UGC type of content, user generated content. You could also go into owning a product line, owning a salon. Like there's so many different avenues in our industry, which is really amazing. I talked about this with our last guest, Chris Bible from She Loves Lashes, that there's so many different avenues in our industry that you can take once you master that craft and once you do build like up your service-based business and you can add in and diversify your income streams, you can change things up and like really start to expand and grow your beauty empire essentially. And so, like, everyone's success in the industry is going to look differently. You don't have a certain path that you have to follow. You can decide what that looks for you, what that looks like for you. But for me, that was like, I want to do coaching. I want to do in-person trainings. Like, that was the path I wanted to go down. So when I started doing education, I still had the babysitter who was coming to our house 2 days a week. So I kept her on and I just started doing that 2 days a week. And I wasn't taking clients during that time. I was working on growing my coaching business and my education and my trainings during that time. And so that looked a lot like sitting at a computer, honestly. There's a lot of computer work, a lot of recording, a lot of editing, a lot of doing live videos, content creation, interacting online. It's a lot of computer work, a lot of phone work, and something that I really enjoy doing. And obviously I did the in-person trainings as well. So I had been doing those started doing those more frequently towards the end of 2020, towards the end of 2021, when I had closed my last studio. And so I already had my curriculum created for that. I already had my kits like curated. I already had like the framework for my trainings essentially. So just kept going with those. Beginning of 2022, that's when I started doing full-time coaching, and education was last year, 2022. So I was doing private lash trainings in person, I was doing group trainings in person, and doing like group coaching programs online and coaching and all the things. And it was super fun. But I kept that same type of structure with doing that with kids at home, where I had 2 days a week with a babysitter there. Instead of taking clients in that time, I took did my admin work, I did my SEO tasks, I did my back end things for my coaching business, and yeah, that was basically the structure I found that worked the best for me. Was having like a couple days a week, and then I would do, if I needed to do other little things here and there, I would wake up earlier before my kids woke up for the day, or I would work during nap time, or I would work after they go to bed at night, in evenings, so my husband could be home with them, things like that, just to get in like other little tidbits that I had to do here and there, if I didn't get everything done during the days I had childcare. So that balance honestly worked out really well for me. I enjoyed that. It gave me some distinct time to work on my business while still really being able to be present with my kids and spend good time with them. And also, I think a big thing about being present with your kids and spending time with them while also having like a successful business, that's going to look like having good routines, having good habits, but also like scheduling things on your calendar. So like your back end tasks that you have to do, your social media, your content creation, your marketing, all your computer work, inventory, bookkeeping, things like that, like scheduling time to do those things and scheduling that time into your week, so that you're not having to go take clients and then come home and do all those things and not being able to be present with your kids at that time. So that's something I would suggest, is just really making sure you're actually scheduling into your week all that time to do your back end activities, so that that time isn't being, or you're not having to do those things while you're wanting to actually be spending time with your kids. That way, the time that you do have with your kids, you're actually able to be present with them. You're not just with them, you're present with them. And I think that that is a very distinct difference between the two. Because like when you're with your kids, but you're still thinking about your business, or you're still piddling on your phone or whatever. I know I've been guilty about that. I still am sometimes with my business currently. It just, with business owners, I feel like we're always thinking about our businesses, but that's something that has really helped me, is just making sure to schedule time to get those tasks done, figuring out what my needle moving tasks actually are, so I'm not just wasting a bunch of time getting things done that actually aren't helping my business grow or move forward. So really prioritizing tasks well, and putting those on the calendar. And that way, when I'm with my kids, I can be present with them. So that's something I definitely would suggest, whether you're service based or you are doing education or you're doing coaching or you're doing product lines, whatever else it might be. Make sure you're scheduling all of the tasks that you have to do, not just the client work. And so with that, with my coaching business now, I am really structuring it in a way to where it's very flexible right now. I currently have a difficult time doing things live. So like with live group coaching programs going live, or doing live videos on Instagram like I used to do all the time. It is a lot more difficult for me with the childcare situation we're in right now. So we did a big out of state move. Where we live now, we don't have any family or friends at all, like whatsoever. We're living in a camper, and my husband's working long hours again. So it makes it difficult because I'm always with my kids. I'm in the same room with them all the dang time, which is, it can be a lot sometimes, but I am really enjoying it. It's not going to be like this forever, so I'm really just trying to soak in this time and just structure my business in a way to where that it's going to work. I can still work, I can still make money, I can still help clients, and coach, while also, being present with my kids, enjoying this time with them, and making the most of this season in our life, because like I said, it's something like this forever. But that's the beautiful thing about your business, is that it can be very you can structure it in a way to where it fits the circumstances that you have currently. So for us, when we're living in our camper while our home is being built, it's like my time, and I don't have any childcare. Like, my time is very limited to work on my business. It's a lot of waking up before kids. It's a lot of working during nap times. It's a lot of recording podcast episodes at 10:30 p.m. like I am doing right now. It's a lot of asking my husband to help me with kids on the weekends. It's a lot of, it's not going to be like this forever. Like, this would not be a structure for my business that's going to be like sustainable long term. It's kind of one of those things where like you got to do what you need to do in the moment, and then when things change when we get into our house. I'm going to be able to structure it a lot better to where it's more sustainable long term. So that's something you got to think about too. What's going to be sustainable for you? Because the crazy hustle and burnout, yes, sometimes you just got to put your head down and work, but you can't keep that up forever without running into burnout, without running into missing out with a lot of time with your kids and things like that. So that's something to look at too. Is just sometimes there's seasons where it is going to be work, 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 or it is going to be weird work hours, or not ideal schedules, but that doesn't have to be something that lasts forever. So yeah, just to wrap things up, when it comes to structuring your business as a mom to be able to be a present mom, have a successful business, I really think that it comes down to doing what is going to work the best for you and your family, because everyone's circumstances are going to look different, everyone's situations are going to look different. Everyone's goals are going to look different. Everyone's versions of success is going to look different. Like, you don't have to do what someone else is doing just because that's what works for them, because that doesn't, like, just because that works for them doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to be what works best for you and your family and your kids. So it really does. You just got to evaluate where you are at with your family, when your family time is, what's going to work the best, and you can't be afraid to adjust and change when it need be, because sometimes your schedule will need to be adjusted and change, so that you can be present with your kids. And for an example of this, like, your kids are out of school for the summer, so you got to adjust your schedule for the summer. Like, that is something that's going to happen. And so yeah, just really making sure that your kids are always a priority. And you will have times when you do have to kind of buckle down and do what you need to do, but just remember that just because that's how it is at that time doesn't mean it has to stay that way. And if you're running into burnout, or it's not sustainable for you, like, don't be afraid to change that and restructure it to be what works the best for you. And yeah, do what you need to do for you. And so that's all I have to say on this tonight. And I hope that it was insightful for you and just helps you really get thinking about, how do you have your business structured right now? And is it set up around your kids? Is it set up around the kind of life that you want to live? And if not, maybe that's something where you need time to sit down and just reflect on that and evaluate that and see how you can adjust things to be able to be a more present parent, be the kind of mom that you do want to be. So thank you for listening so much. I do have, like, if you loved this, I do have something coming very soon that is going to be encompassing this type of support very soon, and I'm really excited to be sharing it with you. I can't spill the beans quite yet. I got to finish up some of the final details for it, but just know that something is coming very soon, and it's going to be something that is very new and different in our industry to be able to support beauty business moms in being a present mom and growing a successful, thriving beauty business. So I can't wait to share more about that with you soon. But in the meantime, let's be friends on Instagram. Come follow me over there, at XO Erica Schramm. I'll put the link for that in the show notes. I will also have a link in the show notes that just has some more free resources for you to be able to grow your beauty business. And if you are interested in any kind of ongoing support as far as growing your business, I do have one-on-one coaching and also online courses that are available for you to take to be able to continue your education and just get some more in-depth support and learning on some of the topics that we talk about here on Lash Biz Babes. So I love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I will have a guest episode out for you later this week.